weather from, I don't know, warm to cold to chilly to miserable, but we're here tonight on Tuesday night. And this is the Indy Legends podcast. Indy Legends is a group organization that we run vintage IndyCar events, historical IndyCar events. And we started this podcast, 3 months ago. And tonight's guest is Kasey Coler from Indianapolis Raceway Park.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Everybody hear me okay back there? Evan, you got me? Okay, great.
So we'll start off a little bit of housekeeping. We have our Indy Legends event out at Indianapolis Raceway Park, a 2-day event, June 28th and 29th. And lots of cars. This is our second year, and we were thankful that Indianapolis Raceway Park kind of partners with us, and we're working on a yearly thing.
Yeah, they do partner with us. They're a big part of our event. Kasey's been a big help on that for sure, and vice versa.
So, and then we've added to, we'll have a memorabilia tent inside the oval. So, and it's $20 for a 2-day pass. And then we're running pre-war. We have the special guest of the Ragtime Racers. Again, fabulous group out of California. If you ever check out their website, it's Ragtime Racers. They're bringing some cars, and they put on a show.
And they are strictly cars from 1911 to 1920 that ran in the 500.
And seeing it for the first time last year, I was blown away by the Ragtime Racers. I had heard them in name only, and boy, I mean, just an unbelievable group. Great cars, great people. They put on a really, really cool show. The tear down, the build back up, it was neat. I mean, that was an event within itself.
Yes, and one of the cars that they ran almost in every segment, we ran for 2 days. Every 15 minutes, we would bring out a new group of cars. They ran a 1911 National that ran in the 1911 Indy 500 and finished 7th. And they ran this thing like it was your Nissan sitting outside here. And it's a multi-million-dollar car. And it's neat to see. You don't want to miss it. That is Brian Blaine's car, I believe.
It is. And Brian Blaine is the organizer or the organization of the Ragtime Racers. And another addition to our show this year, as we're making it a bigger mecca and adds more things as the years go by, but we're actually inviting car clubs and to have a parking spots out in the drag strip parking lot. What is that, the south end, north end?
Yeah, the south end.
South end of the racetrack. So any car clubs collectively want to be a part of our group, and they will get some track time as well during rest for the historical Indy cars. So if you're interested as car clubs, and we have put that on our website and our social media, that's another addition for for individuals and participants to see as well.
Okay, let's get this started. This young man here, Kasey Coler, is probably one of the busiest guys I know. And IRP, NHRA, I believe they made some decisions over the last couple of years. They're bringing their headquarters to Indianapolis. And there's a lot of changes that we're going to see at IRP here locally in Brownsburg. And I think we've got the right man here to explain a few things to us.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you everybody for coming out on a Tuesday night. Great to see everybody, a lot of familiar faces, which is really cool. As Bill mentioned, and Stephanie as well, I work for the NHRA, so the National Hot Rod Association. This is my 9th year with the organization. Thank you for not booing. So, in my responsibilities with the NHRA, we run our facilities. So we own and operate facilities across the country. Obviously, right down the street in Brownsburg at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park, Gainesville Raceway, In-N-Out Burger Pomona Drag Strip, where we operate that facility as part of the LA Fairplex that are partners. And then we rent the facility up at Joliet Route 66, and we rent the facility down in Richmond, Virginia. So my responsibilities are running kind of the day in, day out operations. We've got a really good team. A couple of our members, Max and Evan, that are based here in Indianapolis, oversee the operations in Indy, as well as Gainesville are here tonight. but we have a good team out in California that kind of boots on the ground. As Bill mentioned, Indianapolis and Brownsburg and Central Indiana is, I mean, no surprise. Obviously, the NHRA base made that decision a long time. A long time ago, the teams made the decision consciously to come to Brownsburg, come to Indianapolis, centralize their locations from the West Coast. And not only were there incentives from a state perspective, but it was also a workforce perspective, right? You think about all the teams that are across all of the various different categories and motorsports divisions. From an NHRA perspective, we have been based either in Los Angeles or San Dimas, California, where we're at today for, we're getting ready to celebrate our 75th year next year.
That's awesome.
It is. It's very cool. And we've got a lot of cool things planned for the 75th. But for us, we had a small staff here at Raceway Park for a number of years. When I first started 9 years ago, I remember driving into the parking lot, and there might have been 3 or 4 cars there. And now you go by on any given day, we've got 30 to 40 people. We did an expansion in the existing office a year ago. We're out of room. And that building houses everybody from our Division 3, our technical staff. We have HR, we've got our marketing, we've got our social team there, we've got PR. So we've got a lot of different folks that are based in that building, in addition to just the racetrack team. And although it may never be the headquarters, I think the headquarters will always live in California. We'll continue to grow our footprint here in Central Indiana and Brownsburg. And I think, at some point we're going to outgrow that existing office there, and we're going to have to build some additional office space. So we do have a lot of really good things coming down the road. Right now, we've obviously kicked off kind of that first phase of that, which was building that new tower. We had the previous Parks Tower, Wally Parks Tower, since 1984. It had seen better days. We had looked at how could we potentially retain that building. We didn't just want to knock it down for the sake of knocking it down. And it was, it wasn't feasible to retrofit that and get it to where it needed to be. And so the NHRA, we made the decision to make the investment. We've operated this past year painfully out of a temporary tower, but we have a new tower that will open up August 1st. That will be, and we will have a public kind of unveiling. So we'll have the community out there to see it, do tours of it. And then we just got done renovating the suites over on the drag strip side. So we're in a pretty good spot.
Now, one thing, Stephanie and I were fortunate enough to be out at the drag strip with Flying Ryan when you did a El Bandito promotion. And we talked to you about the tower. You could see the tower. That's when it was initially first starting. But I was amazed. Explain to us the different floors of the tower and what all. I mean, it's going to be pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. So for our tower, a couple of things that are critical from a drag racing perspective. So right now, timing and scoring is paramount for us. So our race control is critical. That will be on what is really the second floor. Our second floor contains not only our timing and scoring, race control operations. It also includes all of our PA setup. And then we also have a full dedicated broadcast studio in there for our TV, our NHRA and Fox team, and then a full media center, photography room. Then you go up a floor. We've got 4 beautiful suites out there that now have external seating. So any of the pictures you see, people will be able to sit right out front there, watch cars go, 1,000 feet or a quarter mile, depending on which category. And then you get up to the top, and this is, I think, probably the neatest of it all, is we've got that rooftop where we can host up to 499 people, the fire marshal tells me. But it's going to be a great vantage point of that drag strip. And the neat thing is you go over to the corner and you can still see beautifully into the oval as well. So it's going to be a really, really cool facility.
Well, we also, when we were out there on Saturday for open day practice for a couple of cars, you did have some tornado damage. And luckily, it either skipped and jumped over you, but you did have some damage.
Yeah, they're pretty minute compared to what it could have been.
Absolutely. All things considered, obviously, seeing what happened on Northfield Drive to the warehouses to John Force Racing, a number of other folks. I mean, pretty devastating. We sustained minor damage. Some suites lost a little bit of a roof, and things that we can all put back together. And hopefully, when everybody comes out in May, we'll notice a difference out there.
I've got a question for you, Kasey, because you said this is your 9th year. You initially came over, I believe, from IndyCar, and you came into this. You're pretty much nowadays, from what I see, you're involved in a little bit of everything. I mean, like the oval, you're traveling, you're hitting all the NHRA events that you folks on the tracks and run.
The weekly,
From
yeah.
where you started, came in, I'm sure you've gained a wealth of knowledge.
When I sold my wife on of what I was going to do to actually what I am doing, yes, there's a little bit of a change there. Yeah, when I first started in my background, I spent 10 years at 16th in Georgetown, 4 years with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 6 with IndyCar, and then I said, I want to see how something lives outside the motorsports world, and I spent a couple of years at the Professional Bull Riders out in Colorado. So I spent. And my background has always been on the marketing side. And so when I was at the PBR, I got a call from Peter Clifford, the CEO of the NHRA, and said, hey, we've got a marketing position available that we want somebody to oversee the marketing. I wasn't interested in going to California. Said our goal was to get back to Indiana. He said, well, we've got this track over here in Brownsburg. Would you have any interest in running the racetrack? I said, no, I'm a marketing guy, not a facilities guy, right? And so he said, that's fine. You can work out of there and kind of go back and forth. So the first year that I was with the NHRA, my job was on the marketing side. So, everything from the TV commercials to selling tickets, whatever it took to get the circus up and down the road. And then I quickly realized that, I'd been going to IRP probably since I was 6 or 7 years old. My dad was a drag racer, so we would go to the U.S. Nationals every year. And you could tell that the facility, it became pretty tired, right? I mean, we're 60 plus years old on the facility, and there just wasn't a whole lot of time and attention dedicated to it. And kind of raised my hand and said, as a hobby, would you mind if I kind of took a little bit of time out of my schedule to put into this, and realized I really enjoyed it. The neat thing about going up and down the road with the circus is that's what you do. You're focused on the NHRA, the Mission Foods category, week in, week out. That's a lot of fun. But then there's also something to be said for, a facility. Our facilities every week is something different. Today we've got Carmel Police, doing their driver training out there. If you drove by, you'd think that, yes, everybody thinks that there's, a SWAT team going on out there arresting folks. That's not the case. But, on Saturday, we've got Cars and Coffee coming out. Typically we'll do over 1,500 cars, and that will be a lot of first timers that get to go to the drag strip for the first time and take their car down the track. So you do something like that, and then, oh, by the way, we've got the oval stuff. So long story short, enjoyed the IRP side. At that time, they said, oh, by the way, we've got this track in Gainesville, we've got a track in Atlanta, we've got a track in Pomona. And then finally, I had to raise my hand and said, I can't be doing the marketing and the track stuff all at once. And we were able to bring over a colleague of mine from the PBR to kind of take over the marketing side, and that's where I spent my time is on our facilities. We operate a lot of different things. Most of it's motorsports related, but we've hosted everything from weddings to 5Ks. We had the Eclipse event last year. We're a facility that hosts events, and
we had a few concerts, I believe.
We've had Indiana Black Expo at that during the COVID years was originally scheduled to go to the Speedway, and Doug called me and said that they had double booked, so could we host that? We ended up putting the stage right on the drag strip, and then had a bracket race the next day. So we do a little bit of everything.
Well, the one thing I noticed, and we were out at one of the Cars and Coffee, that was phenomenal. I mean, there was more cars. That group, they come in and they park. They don't stay very long, but they're in. There's a lot of neat cars. And then you had them going up and down the drag strip. And that was kind of neat. I mean, that's kind of a really, really, good deal.
Well, one of the things that we talk about internally, but I don't think it probably gets, recognized enough outside of the walls of the NHRA is, the NHRA is, we're a not-for-profit, right? There is not a single person that owns the NHRA. We're a 501c6. Our core mission, why Wally Park started the organization, was to get people off the street from street racing. And that's still a core mission of what we do. It is to provide a safe environment for people to come and enjoy the sport of taking their car down the drag strip. And if they want to race, they can race. And I think a lot of folks, me included, we get very focused on our professional categories, what happens on Fox, the John Forces of the world, the Antron Browns. I always say those are our Trojan horses out there. That's what brings people into our events. Every ticket's a pit pass, kids 12 and under are free. We do a lot of things to bring people in. But at the end of the day, it's to show people the sport of drag racing. That's really our core mission. So things like Cars and Coffee, or tomorrow night is our first Wild Wednesday. Anybody in here, as long as you got a valid driver's license and you got a vehicle, you can take it down that drag strip. It doesn't matter if it's your minivan, your truck, your souped up.
In the Suburban.
That works.
The war wagon. It'll do it.
Match race between. But that is core to what we do. Some people think it's just one more thing that we've got going on, but that's an important piece of why the NHRA exists.
Well, and Saturday we were out there just kind of hanging out in open practice and checking a few things out. But the drag race side, you have bracket racing, and that's kind of a neat deal because you explained to us that they have to go there, the group, they have to earn points, they keep coming back so they can make it to national events. I know Steph was kind of impressed with that. It's a good way to move people forward.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, I want to learn more about it, but I mean, like you break out and all these terms. So that brings in, I mean, you have obviously been networking with the community, and when you bring like people, Cars and Coffee, they're like, you have your schedule. Well, I want to go back there and watch the oval races because obviously the nationals there, Labor Day weekend, and most people should know that that's when it comes. But there's a lot of events that I think one of the Thursday night thunders around Halloween, you're having trunk or treat. So that's a huge event for you to bring in, all family.
It's neat that you're working community-based. I know you guys are working with Brownsburg a lot, but explain a little bit about your Halloween night or your Halloween
Trunk or treat.
You're having. I mean, that's for the kids.
Yeah, so community involvement is important, right? This is we're not going anywhere. People ask, are you going to sell the drag strip? We understand land values continue to rise. The benefit of being that not-for-profit, and this is, we're firmly rooted in Brownsburg and Indianapolis Raceway Park. We do not plan to sell at any time, right? This is our home. So community involvement is very important. It is interesting of how many people come out there for the first time. Cars and Coffee, right there. You think about gearheads, people that, of course, they've been here multiple times, and they're like, I've always heard about it. I've never come back here. I've never seen it. Until Ronald Reagan, the expressway opened up, how many people drove by and go, I had no idea. I heard the noises, but I never knew what was back there. I didn't realize it was so large, and it was an actual motorsports facility, grandstand suites like that. So kind of an extension of that from a community involvement perspective is just got our toes wet last year in terms of our last race of the season, Championship Saturday on the oval, as well as the drag strip, happened to fall around Halloween. We did some stuff with the Indy Hood Rats group, and this year we've kind of jumped all in. It's Halloween Fest for us on both the drag strip, the oval, trunk or treat, free, bringing families out, seeing, experiencing what we do. That's pretty critical.
And that was a big event. We saw it last year, and I was like, wow, this is kind of neat. And from what I'm understanding, it's going to be much bigger this year.
Yeah, continue to grow on that. The amount of cars that came out, similar to Cars and Coffee, we expect that to continue to grow for years to come.
Now, you spoke about the Ronald Reagan Expressway. It's maybe whatever. Is that going to be the main entrance into IRP eventually?
Yeah, long term, that will be we'll call that the front door into Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. Right now, we're going through the process. You may or may not know, there's actually a county ditch that runs right through the middle of our property underneath the drag strip. So Brown's Ditch, a county ditch, actually runs right underneath that quarter mile there. And we've talked to the county, and they always tell me, we get so nervous for that call during U.S. Nationals weekend that something happened with the ditch and you guys aren't able to run. So we are in the process of rerouting that ditch that will go on the outside. It will be buried. So it will be all underground, but that ditch will go on the outside of our property and then rejoin Brown's Ditch and exit out on the south end of the property. That allows us to really level off that west side. Anybody that's been to that facility, especially on the drag strip side, we have a lot of unused property on that west side. The undulation of the ditch and everything else there. So the plan is level that all off. We'll have the new entrance in off of Ronald Reagan, and then hopefully we've got drainage figured out, and it's a much more enjoyable situation for our fans. The plan is still, we'd like to park our customers on the west side. We want to be able to get folks closer to the action and not have to walk miles to get to where our pro pits are.
Right, and I also noticed that some of the upgrade. I mean, it's continual. I mean, every time we go out there, we see something that's been changed. And right there from the main entrance off of Crawfordsville Road, you go up to the ticket. You now have that nice paved lot for handicap, which is great. I mean, that gives a lot more. You didn't used to have that. So that gives for handicapped people a closer place to park, but you still have that long walk up to the oval.
Now, I'm going to switch and jump completely different. I'm a YouTuber. I watch YouTube. I don't watch anything but YouTube. And we heard about this cat named Cleetus McFarland. And he was having an event at IRP. And we were kind of like, we might go see this. I've never seen so many people at Indianapolis Raceway Park in all my life. I've gone there a long time. Now fill us in on that. And he is a marketing wizard.
He is. So Garrett Mitchell, aka Cleetus McFarland. If you haven't heard of him, check him out on YouTube. Kind of a self-made, his backstory is I believe he went to law school. I mean, he's a smart guy. They came to us. Boy, this is our 5th year now of hosting Cleetus and Cars. Now it's kind of turned into Burnout Rivals is kind of what they're kind of branding it as. But one of the best groups that you could possibly work with. We very much like you. Well, I'm absolutely the opposite. I do not get much of my information or entertainment from YouTube, so I am not as familiar with the folks that they would bring out. The first couple of years, we would have thousands and thousands of people standing in line for hours until the gates open, right? And they didn't want to tailgate. They wanted to stand there in line to meet their favorite YouTube celebrity. It might be somebody that blows stuff up with explosives. It might be, the guys from Vice Grip Garage. It didn't matter. There's all these YouTube celebrities that folks came to see. And it opened your eyes. People say, motorsports is dying. Kids don't care about cars. Farthest from the truth. Come out to our facility the first weekend of May. On Friday, we have a Crown Vic race that is unlike any Crown Vic race that you're going to see. Cleetus and all of his friends are out there. Last year, Tony Stewart started in the back, almost won the darn thing until the last lap, got spun out, but he handled it really well. We've got our Top Alcohol, Funny Cars, Dragsters racing on the drag strip. We've got a Van Prix, which, when they floated the idea by me the first year or last year, my initial reaction is to say no, as I have to explain this to our legal team and our insurance team. But after seeing it, I mean, it was one of the most entertaining events that I've ever seen. This year, they've got monster trucks coming in. So every year they are always looking to continue to improve it, grow it.
And I'm telling you, for this Crown Vic race, I've never seen the oval so packed. I mean, the grass, it was solid. There's not a seat in the grandstands, and it's great people watching. It's the best.
And ticket sales this year are even further surpassing where we were a year ago on this event. Cleetus ran the ARCA race at Daytona this year as part of Speed Weeks. I mean, he's a motorsports gearhead through and through. He loves everything that has a motor, wheels, or even a boat. So he has a great fan base, but also all of those other YouTubers that have kind of their own followings that come in as well. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think he brought in like 1 million new followers to his channel just from running the ARCA race.
Yeah.
And now NASCAR caught on, and they're using him quite a bit.
Yep.
So that's one of the events that's coming up. But let's get to the crest of it, because I'm now personally involved too on this little jaunt that Bill and I and some of our friends have got talked into. But it's called the All-Star Midget Series. Let's talk about that, because that's on the oval, and what a great concept. And there's how many cars now that came out of the barns?
I mean, we're expecting fields of at least 26 to 30 plus cars.
From what I've counted up and talking with everybody, we're right at 30 probably.
Yep.
So it is a series a brainchild that grew because it makes it affordable race.
And you know what I'd like to do while we're talking about this, because Eric, come on up. Here's Derek Bishak. He goes to Kasey and IRP team because pavement racing around here on the oval for midgets and sprint car was gone. I mean, it was done. And for somebody like me growing up, Danny Williams, Danny Bryden, I mean, it's, pavement racing belongs here, especially at IRP. And Kasey, I know, put his head on the chopping block, I think, and the whole group did with NHRA, and brought some sprint cars back, running the crown cars and midgets. And it's no longer USAC cars, but they've taken it over themselves. And kudos to Kasey for being brave enough to go out and take a chance.
Well, to your point, I think one of the first questions I would get, 6-7 years ago, from folks in the community was, when are pavement midgets coming back, right? And I'll be the first to admit, I mean, I worked at 16th in Georgetown. I was familiar on the dirt side of things. It's not like I grew up running a pavement midget myself. I didn't come up through quarter midgets or anything like that. I was well aware and watched Thursday Night Thunder, but I wasn't as engrossed as probably the community was. And so we said, let's give it a shot back in 2020 during the COVID year, and the 500 moved to August, and we worked with our partners up at Anderson Speedway. They weren't gonna follow the 500 with the little 500, and that gave us our first opportunity to bring pavement midgets back. And so you had folks like the Gerhardts that trucked all the way over from California, brought their midget.
Kudos to you guys.
Absolutely. The Bertrands out of Massachusetts, the Bishaks, you guys brought your midget out, and so it was probably the first time I've seen everybody kind of sitting in the boat, rowing in the same direction, trying to at least have a place for pavement midget racing to hopefully survive and maybe someday thrive. So we're now, year 5 into this, and last year there was a concept that was kind of brought by Bobby Seymour, David Ward, about the possibility of having kind of a souped up Ecotech / Focus engines in a car that maybe was allowing us to get more people into pavement midget racing, but maybe at a lower price point, and then continue to be able to have and feature national pavement midgets that can go out there and just rip up the track and put on a great show as well. So this is kind of truly our first year. We did 2 events last year, kind of as a trial, and obviously Bill and Stephanie kind of have raised your hand.
I got to say, Kasey, we were up watching the race, and that was some of the closest racing, passing back and forth, at 6 cars fighting for the lead. And I told Steph, I said, now that was fun to watch. And the national midgets, they're incredible, they're fast. But usually somebody gets out there, they're gone, and there's not a whole lot of racing. It's just who who's got the biggest engine, and who set up the best. And this was competitive. It was fun to watch, and I really liked it. And I'm still married, and we're going to run 3 of them.
3 of them. So, but you have now set up, you have what, 4 races? I don't know. 4 races on the schedule.
Yeah, 4 races. Derek's going to join us for all 4. You're going to be driving. What are your thoughts going into this?
Oh, I'm really excited to be part of this. I watched the 2 races you guys had last year, and Bill said it was incredibly close racing, very exciting. Glad to get called from Bill to be part of this year.
Just funny, I called Derek up, and he's like, "Who's this cat? I don't know, why is he calling me?" And I talked to Brian Gerster. You got to find somebody for this 3rd car, And he goes, "Well, there's Derek Bishak." I said, "Yeah, that's a good one." Because I've watched Derek for about 10 years now, and he was running back when my daughter was running way back, and I thought, man, I always thought that kid did pretty good. A house car, family car. And Gerster talked a little bit, and I said, "I'm going to give the kid a call." And Gerster goes, "Well, here's his number." That's how it all started.
Yep, so it worked out great so far, and I'm looking forward to my first race here today. I remember as a kid in the '90s coming out with IRP and watching the full field midgets scream down the track there. So I'm glad to hear that we're going to have a full field of cars for good, close competitive racing.
And you're going to have some celebrity races as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we're calling it 4 races, but it's actually going to be 6, I believe.
Yeah, so we've got as part of 2 of the races. The one in June is part of the Indy Legends event on Thursday. We'll do an all-star race. It's kind of a race within a race where we'll hopefully bring in some legends from the IndyCar series that get to highlight that. The next one, I don't think I'm ready to publicly roll everything out, but I will say Wednesday, August 22nd it will not only be testing on the drag strip for our NHRA friends as we get ready for the U.S. Nationals. But that night, we'll go over to the Oval, and obviously we'll have the All-Star Midgets. We'll have our National Pavement Midgets, but we're going to have a really cool event with a number of our NHRA drivers that have and have not driven midgets before, have and have not driven on the Oval before. So it should be a lot of fun. We've got a lot of special surprises for that one that we'll roll out over the next couple of months. But yeah, that's the neat thing about the All-Star Midgets is it does provide us a little bit more flexibility to be able to put folks in a car and give them the experience. Last year we had Ricky Thornton Jr. kind of joined us last minute at one of our events, and that's kind of a neat extension of this series.
Well, and I mean, Sammy Swindell's going to run the whole series.
Don't blow all the surprises. Don't blow all the surprises.
I mean, you've got Tyler Royer, you've got Derek, you've got Swanson's going to run, and then you've got Jason Leffler's son coming in. You've got some new kids learning. You've got some veterans, and I think it's going to be a really fun, neat series.
Well, it's affordable.
And very affordable for racing nowadays.
Yeah, that's kind of an oxymoron when we put racing and affordable in the same sentence. However, it does bring the cost down. We've implemented a few things there. We put an engine claim rule on there, so there is a $15,000 engine claim rule. So that is something that makes this has some teeth in it. We've removed all private testing for the Focus Ecotech side of things. You can still test privately on a national midget, a Silver Crown, or a sprint car. We did open up. We have 4 open test sessions for those teams, so we still want to make sure that folks are able to get laps around there. But we don't want anybody to have that barrier of entry thinking, boy, I've got to rent IRP for 3 days. I've got to go buy this motor. I've got to go have this person, tune my car. So I'm hopeful that this is a good entry level step, not only for midget racing, but really for pavement open wheel racing, right? Sprint cars, Silver Crown. We want to see them all thrive out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unique because we're building our engines in our shop. I'm sure a lot of other people are. I mean, Derek, you were there hanging out with another one of our drivers and some of our crew, It's kind of a laid back deal. It's not so expensive. It's high pressure. Everybody wants to win. But I mean, what do you think about coming into the series?
Yeah, it's yeah, the lower cost makes it more affordable. You know, looking at the drivers you've already mentioned, it's going to be incredibly competitive still. You know, with these engine packages, I think it's going to be 8, 10 cars racing for the lead every race. So I'm excited to be a part of it, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, we do have, I was going to mention the first race is May 23rd. Friday.
Yeah. And it's going to be a long day of racing, which is great, right? That's carb day. So, you know, go have a great time over at the big track, watch that final practice session. And then, you know, you come over and we've got the All-Star Midget Series. We've got our National Pavement Midgets. We've got, oh, by the way, we've got the Hoosier 100, you know, still the written. Yeah.
Let me brag on you a little bit on that one too. You know, the wonderful people at the state fairgrounds here had some wonderful idea, and they bring probably one of our most famous racetracks that has ever been around, and the Hoosier 100 was lost. In steps NHRA, Kasey, his group, and they brought it to the pavement, which is great. I mean, they stood up, they brought it back, but you made the purse $75,000, $80,000 purse, which was phenomenal. It never been close. Granted, it wasn't on dirt, but they worked great. They saved it. The purse was phenomenal. And the last time I was out there, the crowd was, you couldn't get all the people through the gate in time to see the race.
We just want a beautiful day and night. I think we're owed one of those now. It feels like the past couple of years we've had to come back, and it's carb night has become, you know, Saturday morning of racing, which is pretty cool. Before Derek has to go down the street over to Anderson and run 500 laps in the little 500. But our goal is to get that in on Friday night and for everybody to enjoy. The Hoosier 100, as we said, we are hopefully temporarily holding this and making sure that this event continues to not only, you know, survive, but thrive. And then, you know, who knows down the road if there's a facility that it makes sense for it to go to on the dirt side. You know, we certainly recognize that. If not, we'll continue to kind of put our arms around it and
nothing wrong
grow.
with the pavement case. I love seeing it out there at IRP. I mean, as far as you guys work, go at it, because you guys are doing better than anybody else on the purse or anything else.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a lot of work to get that all to work out, but it's a great night on Friday night, Indianapolis 500 weekend. You know, there's no place that, you know, I'd rather be than out there at the track and seeing how many people come in. And what would always, it opens my eyes, how many people come in internationally and come out to that track and they want to see American style racing. And it's great. In fact, this year we have you know, the folks from Goodwood are coming over. They've rented a suite. They're bringing over 45 people, I believe, from Goodwood. You know, it was kind of a funny story. Last year, we ended up getting drenched with rain. We ended up having to pull the plug. And I see these two people still out there soaked as could be. And I said, can I help you? And obviously they did not have an Indiana accent and said that they were over here from Goodwood, thinking about bringing a group over for next year for the 500 to see everything, and said, we really want to come on a carb night. Could we bring folks over? You know, we're thinking about bringing 45 people. And, you know, a year later, they've got the suite. They're really fired up to see what Derek and everybody else can do out there on the track.
That's a good deal, because I'd love to see our event turn into a good one within the next 5 years.
Right.
So before we, you know, wrap this all up, we do have posters here, a couple of posters here, but I'm going to give kudos to your staff, Max and Evan. But we did get advanced the QR code. So if we see them,
there's a QR code on there, so you can
buy your tickets directly.
Before we get away here, I want to talk a little bit about the Indy Legends week, because that's going to be another week where we're going to have Thursday Night Thunder loaded. That's going to be a full week of racing, and that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's going to be I mean, that's what, 3 to 4 straight days of the oval being packed with not only, short wheelbase, midgets. We have national midgets and our all-star midgets, as well as kind of the all-star event. And then seeing all of these vintage Indy cars, not only, going pre-war to seeing something from the Indy Racing League, which was really cool last year. I think we had a couple of those that came
Well, we had a
together.
professional driver that probably went a little quicker than what he should. And I keep asking Case, when are you going to talk him into an Indy Lights race out here? I think that would be neat.
Yeah, that was my hope and dream. Was I remember talking to Levi when he was running the Indy Next Series and said, boy, wouldn't it be really cool if we did all of our this great stuff on Friday, but then we brought them back on Saturday night and ran kind of the night before the 500 with the Indy Next cars. And as he reminded me, the teams that are set up for the 500, they use a lot of crew members from those Indy Next teams. So I don't know that Saturday night at IRP is probably the best use of everybody's time for the crew side of things. So the focus should be on the big track on Sunday. So, it's still a dream. Maybe someday.
I would love to see it.
And we did include on our historical IndyCar event, we did add Indy Lights, and we do have some
Yes, we have
entries.
Yes, we have several entries for the Indy Lights coming up.
So,
Very cool.
Okay, well, I called Derek up here, and as soon as he gets up here, I see his dinner comes out. That was planned to kind of keep the race car light. We'll get you out there and eat. But thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Appreciate the crowds we've been getting.
our next podcast, we do have a date.
The 20th, I believe.
It is race week.
Yes, that's race week. Angela wants us to come back in race week. We're going to try to get several of the, I'm not allowed to say old anymore, knowledgeable IndyCar drivers from the past. So,
The vintage.
yeah. Well, historical
Historical.
drivers.
Seasoned.
Yeah, so we'll try to make that a special show on the 20th. Thank you to Kasey and his staff. Thanks, Danny. And
Sherry.
yeah, Sherry, thanks, you guys. We'll see you later. And just appreciate everyone showing up tonight. Thank you, Kasey.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.